got to make a stronger impression.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Shift Ed Podcast coming to you. We are lucky here. I'm just, nudging, elbowing over my neighbor almost. I have Michael Feuerstack, who's here with me today, a Montreal indie musician, and so much more. I mean, he's been doing this for like 30 plus years, and we're going to talk about all those 30 years in this 25-minute window. He's not only a singer-songwriter, but he also produces. He supports a lot of artists. He collaborates. In my mind, he's like, and I told him this before, is kind of jokingly, but I feel it. He's like the godfather of Montreal indie. He knows so many people, and we have had a couple of recent episodes where we've featured a few Montrealers, like Common Holly, for example, and Adalia, and the Bar Brothers. They're American, but we adopted them to Montreal. And I just been having this great time talking with our local musicians and getting where they're at and where they're going. So, Michael, thank you so much. I've been a long-time follower of yours, and I'm just so excited to get an opportunity to pick your brain for about 25 minutes.
Thanks for having me. It's fun to be here.
Yeah. So, Michael, to kind of like lay our foundation here, I know Snail House, was your first, venture down band and putting material out.
Mm-hmm.
How did that project get started?
Actually, I started out in punk rock bands when I was a teenager, early teenager. And then I moved away with my parents and I didn't have any friends. So it turned into a solo venture, basically. So I started writing songs in my bedroom, as a young teen or whatever. And so, it wasn't so much like an aesthetic shift as like logistical one, or it was very practical. And, I would borrow a 4-track once I'd had 8 or 10 songs, and I'd make an album, which was in those days was a cassette that I had recorded in my bedroom. And so those are the roots of Snail House, really. I went from punk rock to, something that worked. Yeah, well, but it's just like using what you have to express your angst or whatever the primary emotion is at the time.
Right. Yeah. And what got you interested in songwriting? Like, what got you that first bug of songwriting, and that you were going to do it for, a few decades and counting? What was the early kind of nucleus of all that interest? Where did it come from?
It's hard for me to say exactly, but I think just the only reason I'm a musician at all is because of songwriting. I think songwriting came first. So it's like a lot of kids, might take guitar lessons or piano lessons or something and then eventually try to write a song. I was kind of the opposite. I was making up stuff, and then it was more about trying to find the tools to make it happen. So I have early memories of running around, pretending I was riding a dirt bike, singing my own theme song or whatever, that kind of stuff. So to me, that's songwriting. And that's, I sort of became a musician accidentally because I had songs that I wanted to make.
Right. And could you say that your songs are very story oriented? Where you try to, do you mainly incorporate yourself as first person into the songs, or do you always kind of have that, more of a third person where you're observing certain things rather than it being you?
I'd say, it's pretty unsatisfying answer probably, but it's always different. It's always shifting. I think for me, the songs tend to be composites of my own experience, observations, other people's experience, loved ones' experiences, and things get put into the jumbler, and then they become stories. And those stories can either be clear, with a clear sort of narrative beginning and an end, or they can be really impressionistic and poetic and refracted through, any number of filters. So, there's not one answer for that. I feel like songs kind of, there's a germ of an idea, and then it slowly reveals itself to you and you try to follow it. And sometimes it's really vague and sometimes it's ultra clear. Um,
And
Yeah.
where do those seeds come from? Where, like, how might a song begin for you that you feel is something that, yeah, I'll pursue this. There's something there. Like, how does that happen? That spark, like, okay, I'm going to carry this one on rather than, shelving it for another day.
or both. I mean, you can shelve it and know that it's going to become a song. For me, it's like,
Hmm.
I find it really impossible to say, but I will say that when you recognize that something can be a song or is going to be a song, that is a recognizable instant. And so like I could be noodling on a guitar and play two chords that sound great together, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be a song, or or a lyrical idea, and then it's just a question of waiting until it reveals itself. Whether that's through like sitting down for hours and hammering at it, or just being patient and waiting until it, I don't know, blossoms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, your professionalism too, over all of these decades of doing music, you must have developed certain routines or habits around your songwriting. Are there any in particular habits that you have now that you've ingrained into how you live your life?
No, I don't think so, really. I think it's just about like being available, like making sure there's an instrument nearby, making sure that trying to make sure that you have some free time to let your mind wander and spend time either with an instrument or a notepad or something like that. But to be honest, like the diligent like work part of it only really happens when I set a goal to like make a record or make a recording or something like that. Usually there's like a sketchbook full of little ideas that aren't quite songs yet. They're in that state where I know they're going to be songs. And then when I have a reason to compile them and to finish them, that's when you kind of have to roll up your sleeves and, actually set aside time and be present in a more scheduled kind of deadline oriented way. Yeah. And I think the balance of those two realities is for me is key. It's like having that sort of playtime, that freedom and openness, and then giving yourself a deadline when you feel there's enough of something to pursue.
Right. Yeah. And do you get a feeling of when you're onto something? Like, does it, like, how would it,
Yeah.
how would it reveal itself to you that, hey, Michael, I'm here. I want to stay, keep,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's hard to put words to
It is.
feelings.
It is hard. And it's also like, it is always changing. It's not always the same experience, but, often it's just something, it's like an earworm, it gets stuck in your head and you need to like, it's like a tiny little loop and you need to make that into a bigger track or circle and event, in order to like release yourself from the loop. Manic looping. But yeah, sometimes it can be textural. It can be like just, what's the word? Like the beating between two notes on a guitar or something like that can like be a world unto itself, or it can be a chord progression that's just like sparks melodies, and then, yeah, or it can be a line in a notebook. Like really, I think for me, it's a question of like trying to open all of those channels and be available for them. And like identifying myself as a songwriter early on allowed me to prioritize that, I guess,
And the transition too, like listening to the Snail House and then onto your solo stuff, what did you find the biggest change was, other than just a name change? There's more to it than that. Can you fill in that gap between when you felt that Snail House was finished what it was able to do, and then you wanted to focus more on solo stuff?
I don't really see them that differently from each other, but what for me, it's more a question of I felt something was shifting in my work and I wanted to mark that change. And so that's why I retired the Snail House name and went into to using my own name. I also had kind of like a practical interest in, because I do so many different so many like diverse activities. I wanted people to be able to pursue, follow any one of those threads and end up at my songwriting work. So I don't know if that works or not. I don't know if people still research music in the same way that they used to when we were coming up as kids. But like, I thought, I used to look at the back of records and say, oh, whatever, this guy produced this record, I'm going to do whatever, look at whatever other work he's done. And so I guess I kind of had a hope that might lead people to what I do through all the other appearances that I've made on other people's work. But also, yeah, I felt something had shifted. The work had kind of deepened, and there had become kind of a spiritual element that I don't, it's kind of a big word. That's not exactly what I mean, but for lack of a better word, we'll call it like a spiritual element. Not so much religious, but just like, I don't know, a deeper kind of connection to the music and to what I wanted to say with the music. And so for me, I felt those changes, and the easiest way to cue a change for people is to mark it in some superficial way, like your name or whatever. And then all of a sudden people start listening differently, in theory. I don't know if that happened or not, but that was the goal. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think like you hit something there too with the collaboration. You had mentioned with Snail House, it was much more of you in your bedroom writing music. When you went solo, did you want more people collaborating with you? Like, was changing the name kind of the gateway to all of the collaborations that you do now? Because, I mean, you don't only just play your music, but you collaborate with a ton of other artists.
I think it was always like that. And I think maybe having a pseudonym before it was more the opposite of what you're saying. It's like I had a pseudonym because I didn't want it to be perceived as a solo project. I always had other collaborators. I had other people involved. Even when I was making bedroom tapes at home, I always wanted to leave space to have other people contribute to the songs and guest vocalists and other musicians, even though I didn't have any friends or the means to record, more ambitious things. That was always the goal. So I think I sort of wanted it to be a band name so that it could be flexible.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a while, I feel like that was well established, and I guess the opposite became more important, like where I wanted people to recognize that it was my work, whether or not there were other people involved. So yeah, I don't know. But now, to be honest, I almost kind of wish I had picked a different pseudonym instead of using my own name.
Is it just
That's not too late. No, I just don't have one on hand, so I haven't come up with anything. Yeah, it could still
jotting those notes down?
Yeah. But the thing that I'm working on now, and I don't know if you know this or if I've mentioned it or not, but I'm working on a big 30-year anniversary Snail House. So it's Michael Feuerstack sings the Snail House catalog revisited. So everything's coming full circle anyway. So all these questions are...
Yeah. It's kind of like Ullman, from Palace Music, and came back and did Bonnie Prince Billy covers,
Yeah. It's a very similar idea. And I think it's a very similar impetus too. Like I've made all this work in the past, and we're kind of enslaved by the idea of like new releases all the time. But I think, songs that I made 30 years ago still have a lot to give. So it's fun to revisit them and give them a life.
I love that. I'm just going to tell you one that's gotten my ear that I can't. And it was a song I used to listen to all the time, Michael, from Tambourine Deathbed.
Oh, yeah.
Freeze.
Oh, nice.
I mean, I can't stop listening to that song. And I listened to it so many times in the past, and it's probably, when did that come out?
2012?
2013, May 7th, 2013. Wow. So your legacy absolutely is vibrant as it was back then. It is today, I find. And this is a question I asked some other Montreal musicians that have been in the scene for a while. What is it about Montreal's indie scene? It just seems like it's vibrant again. Like it has this resurgent almost coming in with all these, I'll say young quotation mark here, but like, it just seems like there's this vibrant music scene that's just exploding right now. And not just like singer-songwriter, but like punk, post-punk, metal, like And Montreal is like just like pushing out these groups. How do you find it's changed over the years that you've been involved in it?
Well, I don't know. I can't really put a finger on it, but I know that there have always been lots of great bands, and there's always been a nice community in the sense of like, there's like people in relatively successful bands collaborating with people in unknown bands, and people who are sort of like, you know, it's like university trained jazz musicians playing with indie folk songwriters. You know, there's always this huge jumble, and there's a lot of support and intermingling of like, there's an appreciation of what's at the basis of it. There's sort of like the impetus to actually make something is important. And I think that is pretty recognized among a lot of people here. And I don't know if that's just the culture of the city, or maybe it's just this is somewhere people tend to end up from other parts of the country because it's a huge city, but it's probably the cheapest of the huge cities, you know? So, I mean, and they're, you know, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have an answer to your actual question, but it is a fascinating place, and I have enjoyed that community for sure. And including a lot of younger bands that I'm slowly getting to know. I still like try to bring myself out to things that I haven't seen before. And
you're still very much a part of the pulse of what's going on. And like, I mean, I'll give you an example. I went to see the Bar Brothers, and there's Michael opening up with Land to Talk. Like, just like, it seems like you collaborate with so many of the artists, either through had played in previous bands with them, or you help record or produce, or, you know, whatever, however your roads have crossed. But collaboration seems to be a huge part of your musical journey now, of what you're doing now.
Definitely. And it always was. So,
yeah. Is it hard for you to, like, somebody calls you up and says, "Hey, Michael, I need a lead guitarist tonight. Can you come in?" Like, is that how things happen sometimes, where it's like, yeah, I need, or is it always kind of like, you know, for a while and you can kind of prepare and plan? And
it's a bit more the latter in my case. Like, I'm not such a hot shot that I can just jump in and wing it. You know, there are better people you can call if that's what you're looking for. But I find that I'm more useful when there's, you know, somebody like wants my sensibility to sort of color what they're doing. So sometimes in like a production, or like for an album cycle, or for a tour or something, then I can kind of join the project for, if it's not, you know, it might be a temporary thing, but it's like I'm collaborating when I'm there. Whereas I think if you need like, you know, a stunt guitarist, there are a lot of people who are ahead of me on that list.
But, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. And like, what do you attribute this longevity? Like, the music business is not an easy business, right? It's, and you kind of alluded to this record cycle that happens. We get, you know, all this work, and then it comes out, and then, you know, hit or miss, or okay, start back the cycle again. What do you think? What do you think has helped you with longevity in this business that is a tricky one to establish yourself in?
Yeah. I don't know. I think my own personal experience is that I started doing it quite young, and I was encouraged along the way, like almost unhelpfully. Like if people tell you you're great, but you're not selling records or getting opportunities, then maybe it'd be better off to quit at that point. But I had enough people telling me, you know, supporting me and telling me that it was worth doing, that I just persisted, you know, and a certain amount of like, you know, privilege. I'm not like on the verge of starving to death or anything. So that allows me to continue. And, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's really like, I mean, the flip side of it is that the persistence and the dedication and the continuity, it begets more work and like leads to more opportunities and more interactions. Yeah. The fact that I am, I don't know if I'm versatile in my abilities, but I'm versatile in my interests and in like the my tastes of what I feel I can contribute to or not is pretty broad. And so I find myself in lots of different situations.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And if you were to, sit down with the starting up 18-year-old, maybe your old self,
Yeah.
when you were 18, what do you think the lessons that you would pass on, or the advice you'd say, to a bright-eyed, okay, I'm doing this, I have my catalog of like 10 songs now, I feel good about them. Like, what advice, in kind of looking back over your journey so far, what would be some of those advices that you might partake or offer up to that young, bright-eyed 18-year-old?
Well, I think there's like a value in like actually finishing things. Like when you do have 10 songs, make a cassette or an album or Bandcamp release or whatever, whatever it is, whatever the medium of your time is, and just to actually commit to something, put it out there and express yourself is probably more valuable than like any other thing you can do. To if you want to share music, then you have to start sharing it. I think a lot of people sit on things for a really long time, and you can learn a lot by revisiting the same material over and over again and making it better and better and perfecting it. But I think perfection shouldn't be the goal necessarily. But I don't know. But at the same time, everyone's different, and some people have spent 10 years to make incredible pieces of music, and other people have spent 10 minutes to make incredible pieces of music. And so I say that without any kind of like judgment or like kind of like specific process method oriented bias. It's really just like, if you have something then you think it's good, then share it.
Right. I like that. It kind of brings us back to the start of the conversation where you like set a goal, and like, I had these songs, I was going to put them out, and I put them out, and I put them on tape. It's like, I always found that too. Yeah, like book a show, like just book a show, and then you got to do it. It spurs that on.
Michael, I horrible shows.
Exactly. You'll have mainly your friends there to start. Someone told me like that's the shift. I asked, like, when did you feel like your music was really, and it's like, when my friends aren't showing up to the show, it's strangers. Then I know that something's happening. Michael, I guess to end, I just want to touch back on what you're working on now and what we can anticipate. Again, whatever you can share, but I love this idea of going back into your catalog and seeing it in a different way, in a different time, in a different year. What spurred this idea on, and when, like, do you have a date where you might expect all this to drop?
Yeah, I think like right now I'm just in like the very final mix revisions. And probably, about a year from this time, we're in April now. So next spring is the plan. And it'll be a double record, and it features like all of many of the collaborators I worked with over the years, all the different versions of the band. Sometimes I'd tour with people from one region, or I'd record a record with groups. Like over the years, there were just different versions of the backing band and the main collaborators. And I've tried as much as possible, or as much as feels right, to include all of those people in some way on this record. So it's got a huge cast of contributors, like almost 40 people, I think, are appearing on this record. And it's got songs from across all the Snail House released albums. So from like 94 to 2011. Yeah. So
cool.
Yeah.
Was that like fun? Like, or was that like, it sounds like a lot of work to coordinate all of that.
It was really, really fun. And all the sessions were really quick. And just like, I would travel to whatever city the core group was in, and we'd like have a day of rehearsal and one day of recording, and then I bring it home. And then, so in the end, Yeah, and there's lots of some people I wasn't able to meet up with in person, so we did remote collaborations and stuff like that. Or maybe sometimes I'd have somebody sing on something that was I'd record with a band in Toronto, or actually that didn't happen, but Calgary. And then I'd get a singer like from here to contribute to it, or, like stuff like that. So it's a real mixed bag.
Mm-hmm.
But I did sessions in Calgary, Ottawa, Montreal, Halifax, Berlin, and Utrecht.
Oh.
So yeah, it was really great.
That's amazing. I'd love to have you come back on when that hits the floor running, and we could analyze it a little bit and pick your brain about the collaborators and the songs, and
there's
revisiting.
I might have to do like a 3-hour episode.
We can expand things for sure. Well, Michael, this has been really lovely. Thanks so much for your thoughtful answers and reflective answers. They really resonated with me, and I know they will with the listeners. People, go check out Michael's Bandcamp page, his solo stuff. Go back, look at Snail House. Amazing stuff there too. And we will definitely be keeping an eye close to what's happening in 2027.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Michael.
I'm in your face, you're trying not to notice. I'm in your space, demanding all the focus. I'm in your space, nothing can come between us. I'm in your face, I don't hear what you're saying. How long's it taking you? It's not a race, but I'm sure that I can win it. You're keeping pace, but your heart's not in it. A monument to something you don't wanna see. A monument. A monument to something you don't wanna see. A monument. I'm in your face, I can't take your rejection. I can't see that you don't want my protection. How long's it taking you to find a place where I can't get to you? Experiment got out of the jar. You took it seriously, I took it too far. A monument to something you don't wanna see. A monument.